Community benefits, jobs, and tax breaks for another billion-dollar development that Detroit City Council passed this week is all happening in the District of Detroit. So what will it mean for Detroiters? We hope to answer that question as News Now starts right now. Detroit City Council passing a $1.5 billion plan to really bring in new development in the District of Detroit, and it received an 8-to-1 vote. And joining us to talk more about that is Rian English. He is the Vice President of Governmental and Community Affairs at Olympia Development. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Andre. It's a true delight to be at the Michigan Chronicle. Yeah. As you know, I led this paper for a total of 6 years.
And come full circle.
It is wonderful to be back, literally with the home team to talk about this project and to be on the other side of it and all of the work that goes into producing such a wonderful product. It's a true homecoming story, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to have you. So let's talk about the news that was made this past week. I'm sure this is something that's been in your portfolio for quite some time. Yes. But talk to us about what this development will bring. We're talking a partnership between Olympia Development and related companies. We know that's owned by businessman Stephen Ross. That's going to really bring in new developments such as office space, retail, hotels, and a whole lot more. But it was a little bit of a rocky road to get there.
So yes, this is a massive amount of development happening in the District of Detroit, and we like to consider this as an extension of a plan. And so this is 10 projects coming forward. It is parking lots going vertical, which is something that we heard over and over from the community. Reduce the amount of parking lots, go vertical with development. So this delivers on that. This is also the adaptive reuse of buildings that are no longer in service. And so we're taking buildings and bringing them back to life, historic buildings. And this project is a really good comprehensive of various types of assets. So to your point, it's residential. We're in a deep housing crisis in Detroit. So this brings residential units forward. It's hotel, it's office, it's retail. So that's shopping and dining. And we really believe that this is the much needed infill in the area to make it more walkable, to make it feel more dense. More eyes on the street means more safety. And so we see this as being a really, really big plan. And I am so excited that council voted this up, and an 8-to-1 vote means that there's an incredible support for it, and I appreciate City Council's leadership and support.
And part of the big package that was voted on this past week was the passage of the $167 million community benefits agreement. Community played a big part in this. However, there are some criticisms that I'm sure you would like to address. And one of those was made by the City Council President this past week, who voted against this project. Not that she's against development, she would say, but against there being more stronger language and guarantees on this project. And we have a clip to play from her comments in that City Council meeting. Let's take a look.
Sure.
You know, Olympia has a history of promises, doesn't have the best reputation. I've talked to African-American leaders in the city who are here supporting it, but I've also raised concerns, to be quite honest with you. So for me, I have to have strong guarantees in place.
So we heard that clip there, and there is this narrative that when it comes to Olympia Development, which is of course owned by the Illages, that there have been a lot of promises in years past of, you know, when it goes back to the Little Caesars Arena project, and there being other projects or economic developments that were supposed to happen around that stadium. And some would say, well, we've heard promises before. How do you respond to that?
So I'm going to go back to things that you said a couple minutes ago that I think are really important and I don't want to miss. Community engagement has been the centerpiece of this development. We do have an opportunity here to do development differently in Detroit. We understand that development is actually more than just the bricks and sticks of buildings. It is placemaking, placekeeping, and how a city can come together around these particular assets. And so I want to start by saying, long before a community benefits agreement, which is the largest one on record at $167 million value, and it's the largest in cash value as well. Before that process even rolled out, we were in the neighborhoods taking our plans to block club captains or the faith-based community and saying, how can development positively impact the lives of Detroiters? It was an open-ended question, and we got so much feedback. And so there are Detroiters' fingerprints all over this plan, which is why I believe we got an 8-1 vote, because we did the work. We went into the community to hear their points of view, their hopes, their needs, and really put that into this plan. So again, long before a community benefits process with our NAC began, we were already in the streets with this plan.
And the project looks great. I mean, you look at some of the blueprints that have been released. A lot of people get the oohs and ahs. But for some, there's a segment of Detroiters that say, okay, we've heard promises before, and there is this narrative that, you know, the Illiches own a lot of property, abandoned properties, parking lots. How do you respond to, okay, either this will be different, or how do you combat that narrative of, okay, no, actually, this is what we've done, and this is what we really do plan to do?
So I appreciate the question. For a company that has been rooted in Detroit since 1989 and employs a significant amount of Detroiters currently, yes, there is a significant amount of land holding here. But what I will say is, to the narrative of promises made and promises not kept, I'm just going to read through a list that our city council has heard, and in our neighborhood meetings folks have heard. And when they hear it and when they see it, they go, oh, a lot has been done. So just a short list: Little Caesars Arena was completed, Little Caesars Global Resource Center, 2715 Woodward, Mike Ilitch School of Business, the Eddie Stone Residences, Temple West Garage, Henry West Garage, Google Detroit offices, and the D Garage. Those are projects that have been completed. In addition to that, these are projects that have been catalyzed because of the arena. The Pistons Performance Center, with the Pistons moving downtown to the arena, their facility was also built in tandem. Brush and Watson, the Scott, City Modern, Woodward West City Club, Huntington Bank, and Pistons Y basketball court program. These are all programs or buildings that flowed outward after the arena was completed. And that is a significant investment in the city, both on our end, but also catalyzed by other companies because of the adjacency to the arena. And so I just want to say, yes, development takes time. Yes, I acknowledge a gap between what people were expecting and what has been delivered, but I also don't want it to be missed that a tremendous amount of work by my colleagues has been done. Now, do I see this as a page turn for us to complete more of that work and execute on that vision? Absolutely. And as you see, we have prioritized residential in this project because there's been such an outcry for that. And so again, this cluster type of development where you can create a work, play, live, learn environment, we really do believe will create that mixed use neighborhood that we've been talking about for a while.
And so when it comes to these several of the projects that's on tap, we're talking 695 mixed income residential units, 1.2 million square feet of commercial office space, both retail, 467 hotel rooms. And also the project is looking for about $800 million in incentives that's going to come from the state, and a deadline that the project was trying to meet. And so that's why the city council approval was very crucial. But how do you also respond to the stronger language that the city council president was looking for? We saw some of the sauce and legislative policy being made right in front of us during the city council meeting, and changes the language and making it stronger. Because what does this also mean for what the council president was trying to move forward was firm commitments that address affordable housing and disadvantaged Detroit businesses.
So totally respect the leadership of City Council President and her point of view, and know that she's advocating for her constituents. What I will say is no other developer has gone on record to say we are intentionally using our procurement dollars or our spending to support Black and Brown owned businesses. There have been carve outs for Detroit based businesses, but talking to leadership in the Black owned business community, we found out that that is not always a sort for Black owned businesses. And so with that said, we learned that there are some businesses like a Microsoft could say that they are Detroit based businesses as long as they have a Detroit office or a PO box. And so getting that understanding directly from Detroit based business owners and Black owned business owners and saying, okay, how can we put on another layer to ensure that our spending goes toward these businesses? That was the intention of the disadvantaged business spend document. It is, a joy to be able to sit in my seat and advocate for Black-owned businesses. In fact, being here, this is a legacy Black-owned business. Yeah. I take that very seriously. I know Council President does as well. And that really is the intention of the document that was produced. And so I don't want it to be missed. No other developer has gone on record to try to intentionally do that within the legal confines of our state constitution. Yes. And that is the sausage making that you saw on the floor. And
right. So, you don't want to be too intentional about race, if you will, but you do want to address legacy businesses.
Absolutely. And because of our Michigan Constitution, because of our Michigan Constitution, you cannot do a race-based carve-out, which is why we went the extra mile and didn't say, well, I guess we can't do what we were trying to do. We pushed for a supplementary document with a third party because it is that important to us.
But I also want to address, part of the reason why the community benefits process is the way it is, and the council involvement pressing for commitments that they wanted to see, is because we've seen the impact of how new development in urban communities pushes out legacy residents. So talk to us about how this project helps ensures that legacy residents who have lived within the downtown area have opportunity to stay in their homes or also be a part of this new development that's coming along with residential.
Sure. So I want to start by saying, out of the 10 projects, there is 0 displacement. Not a single person will be moved out. Not a single person will be priced out. These are either surface parking lots or buildings that are no longer in service moving forward. So there's 0 displacement in it. When it comes to participation and Detroiters being a part of the workforce or living in these new residential buildings, that was such a core priority of ours, our NAC and City Council. And at the end of the day, you saw all parties finding alignment. There's a prioritization for Detroit residents to get into these affordable housing units. And that is the leadership of Pro Tem Tate. He was asking for some sort of filter that says, not necessarily a new Detroiter who says, I want to now be a part of the action. How do we put a sort on it for people who have stayed through every economic downturn and then also stayed through as we're coming out of that? And so there's a sort now on the affordable housing units that you're prioritized if you've been in Detroit for more than 10 years, and then it moves to 5 years, and then it moves to 3 years. And so that is the type of negotiating, thoughtfulness, hard work by our city council leadership and the development side to say, I understand the spirit and intention of what you're trying to create. Let's figure it out. We are not developers who say, no, that's too much. We stay on whether it's calls or meetings, and we really do try to bring our best to the table and work with our elected officials to get to a meeting point where Detroiters win.
So there's going to be a lot of things that comes out of this project, and hopefully for the positive good of the community, right, and for the city at whole. I mean, I can tell you, when I was growing up, I always wanted to see Detroit have a downtown that mirrored downtown Chicago or New York or what have you. So this is promising, but I think that for that segment of some Detroiters are hoping that this is more than just a blueprint. There is some intentionality behind a lot of work that's going to go behind it. And I know that you brought up before in our conversation is that it's a complex way to put development together, and it's not as quick as some would believe.
Yes, and so building buildings take time, as you would imagine. We look forward to advancing this project to the next step. This week we got approval from City Council. Very shortly it moves to the state. It is our hope to put shovels in the ground July, no later than August, to really start bringing these jobs forward. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge all of the hard work that went into this, and really Black women at the table. Kenyatta over at the DEGC with her leadership, Nicole Sherrard Freeman on the JET team and her leadership on the city side, every single councilwoman, including city council president. I admire and respect each one of them as they really do bring their constituents in mind to the table. And so talking to a legacy Black paper and being a Black woman in my position, I did want to note there was a tremendous amount of hard work on every side to get this to the point that it is. And I do look forward to bringing this project forward for Detroiters. Absolutely.
Well, I'm sure it's a big win in your portfolio, and more work to come as this process continues. There'll be some more issues on this project before City Council and also before the state level. And so we shall see and follow this process as it moves forward. Rian English, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to see you.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, we have planned to have Detroit City Council President Mary Sheffield on the show to give her perspective and to explain more of her position on this deal. And after being in communication with her team all this week, with her appearance that was confirmed and then canceled, then confirmed, and, well, rescheduled and canceled once more, the council president just could not make herself available. And that is unfortunate. Perhaps next time. And that's it for this edition of Michigan Chronicle News Now. I'm digital anchor Andre Ash. Thanks so much for watching. See you back here next week.